Everybody ready? All right, let's get onto the floor. All right, so while we're getting ourselves set up for yoga, we're going to just lay down all the way onto our mats. Starting our yoga practice with some relaxation. What a better way to start off our day, taking a break from whatever it was that we're doing, whatever we have to do later. I want us to just let our arms and legs completely melt into the ground. Notice if our head is twisted or lulled off to one side. Let's try to bring it flat with the nose pointing straight up to the ceiling. Now, paying attention to our stomach, go ahead and take a big inhale through the nose and let the stomach rise up to the ceiling. Let those rib cage open. And then on the exhale, feel like you're a balloon that's just been deflated. When we breathe out any worries, any anxiety. We breathe out any bad feelings, whether that's frustration, sadness, anger. And when we inhale, we try to breathe in some good feelings like calmness, hope. And since it is the month of February, let's breathe in some feelings of love, friendship, gratitude. Sometimes it's hard to reflect on these feelings and really check in with ourselves. Maybe it seems silly. So important to just ask ourselves, what am I thankful for right now? Who am I thankful for? It's a nice way to make us feel a little bit better. And as we're just working on slowing our breathing, maybe we feel ourselves calming down. If we find ourselves getting easily distracted today, use your breath. Focus on your inhale. Focus on your exhale. Trying to let all of those other thoughts just wander past. While we're here, go ahead and reach those arms long up over our head. Big stretch. Notice if that feels really good through our shoulders. Maybe we feel this through our back, perhaps through the core if we just did a big core section. Slow your breathing even more as you open up through the rib cage, holding on to your right wrist. Reach that right arm a little bit longer, stretching past that right shoulder. And then switching, grabbing a hold of that left arm and pull that left shoulder a little bit farther. Coming through the middle, releasing those arms. Let's gather our knees into our chest. And as we find knees to chest position, we'll give ourselves that wonderful hug, squeezing the legs into the body, releasing tension from the hips as we start to rock right to left. This is an amazing relief for our backs. A great way to start talking to our hip flexors, noticing if we feel any pinching. And as we keep a hold of our knees, just go ahead and start to roll through those ankles. If we've been in winter boots a lot, we'll feel some stiffness, just working through. And if we've just been sitting at a desk a lot, we may also want to start incorporating some movement here. We'll single out our stretch, keeping a hold of our right knee. Left leg comes all the way down to the floor. Really press that left leg firmly into the mat. Straighten it out as much as you can. And draw the right knee open towards our right shoulder just a little bit, really squeezing that leg in against the belly. Notice too what's happening across our shoulders. Did we get all tense or were we able to relax the shoulders into the ground? Slowly releasing that leg down. When we're ready, we'll draw the left knee up. Bring that knee out towards the left shoulder when you're ready. Really pressing the right leg down into the mat now. We're just warming up. We're easing into our stretches today. Today's focus is going to be on holding some big stretches for the hips, the shoulders, and the back. So starting to pay attention to how those areas are feeling. We'll release that left leg all the way down, taking the feet flat onto the floor, making sure that we don't feel like we're wiggled in an awkward position, but you're happy with the position. Heels are coming pretty close to the hips as we prepare for glute bridges. Arms are down on the floor, roll those shoulders into the mat and zip up through your abdominal muscles. Go ahead and take an inhale as we squeeze the glutes, lift the hips up, and exhale, slowly release. Articulating through the back. Inhale, lift up, one vertebrae at a time. So we're moving our spine very slowly. Exhale, slowly release. Noticing if we're feeling anything in the legs. Inhale, lift up last time. And exhale, slowly release down. Taking our knees up 90 degrees. Both arms are coming out to the side, sliding them into a bit of a T, keeping the shoulders and hips glued to the mat. We're going to work through some windshield wipers. Taking an inhale in the middle. Now lower the knees towards the right with our exhale. Inhale, lift through the middle. Exhale, lowering to the left. Inhale, I want us to think of control. Exhale, the shoulders never come off the mat. Inhale, lift. Exhale to the left. We'll do one more each way. Inhale, lift. Exhale to the right. Last time, inhale, lift up. Exhaling to the left. Inhale, lift through the middle and release the feet to the ground. Taking our right foot across the left knee into a figure 4 stretch. Right away, you may be feeling a little bit through that right hip. Maybe it's not talking to you very much and we'd like to push the knee away with our right hand. If we do that, I recommend taking the left hand on top of your left hip and making sure that you're keeping your hips really nice and open. Sometimes we have a habit of twisting into the stretch, which takes away a lot of the intensity, but then it also loses some effectiveness. Let's make sure that we feel a bit of a stretch in that right hip. If you need more, by all means, threading the hands under, pulling that left foot up off the ground. Just try to keep that left leg relaxed, not having extra tension in the foot or in the neck and shoulders. Trying to push that right knee away from the face. You could even use that right elbow to help push that knee away just a little bit. Let's take one more nice big inhale here. And then we exhale, slowly releasing down. Take our time crossing that left ankle over the knee. Now again, you may be twisted or kind of fell open a little bit. Using your right hand on your hip, keep your hips level across right to left side, and you can push that left knee away a little bit, which may trigger a bit of a stretch response in that left hip. And for anyone who needs a little bit more, we can thread our hands under the right thigh, picking the foot up, using that left elbow to press the knee open. And just watch what this right leg is doing. A bad habit is keeping it really, really straight, creating so much tension. We don't need the tension. Relax that foot. Use your left elbow to help press that knee away. Very nice. Let's take our last big inhale. And exhale, slowly release both feet down to the floor. Go ahead and windshield wiper those knees open through butterfly a couple of times. Good stuff, everyone. Taking the feet flat onto the ground. We're going to lift the right knee up now, holding our hands behind the thigh or the calf if that's more comfortable. Keep this left knee bent. We're still warming up, so we don't want it to be too intense. As we hold this leg, let's start to roll that ankle. Noticing all of the stretch we might be feeling through the shin, the calf, the hamstring, especially with all of our extra cardio that we might be doing on the bike or in the treadmill. We may feel a lot through the shin or through the calf. Slowly releasing that leg down, and we'll switch sides. Bringing the left knee in, holding behind the thigh as we straighten the leg. If we feel like we'd prefer to hold the calf, go ahead. Just avoid holding the knee. We never want to hold our joint. Now start to roll through the ankle. And the reason we don't hold directly on the knee, there's a lot of stuff going on at the knee. We want to protect it. It's a very important joint. We want to keep it safe. We don't want to accidentally pull on it. So we hold the calf or the thigh. And we pay attention to what we're feeling, where the stretch is happening on the leg, the front, the back, high or low. Take one more big inhale and exhale, slowly release down. Taking our arms out to the side, lifting our right knee up about 90 degrees, lower both legs over towards the left side into a spinal twist. Keeping the shoulders on the mat, we're going to open across the chest. We can take that left hand and just start to press that knee down a little bit more if you want. And if it feels good, you can even look over that right arm. Just notice that your shoulders are in fact both pressing down to the floor. We don't want to over rotate. Inhale, lifting our knee up. And exhale, take the foot to the floor. This time the left knee lifts high. We lower both over to the right side. And see, we don't want that shoulder up. We want to keep the shoulders down. We can take the top hand onto that left leg just to add a little bit of extra pressure as we open across that left chest, through the arm, down the rib, and into the hip. Very good. Let's inhale, lift up, and exhale, lower down. Just taking our time as we roll ourselves up and over. We'll find ourselves in tabletop, hands directly beneath the shoulders, knees directly beneath the hips. Draw those bellies in, creating really flat backs. Watch that you're not winging your shoulders, but we're pressing away from the hands, creating a flat surface. Taking our cows and cats. We'll inhale, open the chest, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, round the bellies, and tuck the chin. Inhale, untuck, opening the chest, long neck. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, round the back. One more time, inhale to open. And exhale, round. Gently pressing back in through child's pose, sinking the hips as low as they'll go, reaching our arms forward and relaxing the head. Try to press away from the hands, press the hands down into the floor, really helping with the shoulder stretch. Now while we're here, stretching the shoulders more, we're going to walk both hands over to the right edge of our mat, take that left hand on top, and then pull a little bit more into that left hip. This is going to help opening up that left side. Slow our breathing. Notice what we're feeling, where we're feeling it. It's important to have that awareness when we're stretching. Slowly walking our hands over through the middle towards the left side of our mat, placing that right hand on top, and pull past that right shoulder into the right hip. Walking through the middle, taking ourselves up into tabletop again, sweeping our right leg forward. Knee comes right on top of ankle into runner's lunge. I want us to make sure that we're happy with that back knee down on the floor. Slowly lifting through the abdominal muscles as we lift it nice and high. Reach both arms up above the head. Now while we're holding runner's lunge, we're feeling that stretch through the left hip, lifting our bellies away from that front thigh. So we're never leaning the stomach forward onto the thigh. Now I want us to take our left elbow and bend it into a tricep stretch. Stay where you are. Good, so we've got that left elbow extended for tricep. Notice the chin. The chin is held high off of the chest. Now from our runner's lunge, I want us to take our arms, bring them down to the ground. Now they're on either side of the front leg right now. We're going to come into lizard. Bringing both hands to the inside. You may want to heel toe that right leg out just a little bit, lining your arms up with your shin. From here, you can stay high on the hands, or you can come a little bit lower onto the forearms. Try to keep that knee right on top of the ankle, the big toe on the floor. We're stretching through the inner thigh. Some of us may need to Curl the back toe, lifting the knee up off the ground to really get in through the groin and the hip flexors. And some of us may need to stay quite high just because it's so intense. So notice what you're feeling. Hold it for just a couple more breaths. Very good. Slowly, we're going to sweep that knee behind us and press back into child's pose. Sink the hips down, extend the arms, relax our head. Couple big breaths, everyone. Working our way up through tabletop again. This time the left foot kicks all the way front, knee stacked above ankle. Make sure you're happy on that back knee. As we lift ourselves up, we have great balance. We lift our arms nice and high, opening up the back hip. While we're here, hips and shoulders are square. We'll now take that right elbow and open it up for a tricep stretch. Now, please don't do this weird, I don't get this thing, right? We don't want to yank on our shoulder ever. So let's make sure that we're holding really nice posture, bending the elbow and just gliding it nicely into a position. We're not forcing it anywhere. This chin is held proudly, tall neck. As soon as you collapse your chin, you're taking yourself into a posture you would never practice. Holding it proudly. Good. Taking our hands, let's release them down, preparing for our lizard. From here, let's take both hands to the inside of that leg, heel toe the foot out so you can line up the shin with the arm. We're not letting it fall open. We're keeping it right stacked on top. If we need to, we can come lower onto the elbows as long as this knee stays right on top of the ankle. We try to keep our backs flat. And again, if anyone needs to, that back leg, you can curl it up onto the toe to straighten it out if you need just a little bit more. Let's take a couple more breaths. Slow breaths into that left groin. Slowly coming back into child's pose. Take your time. There's a lot of feeling happening through those hips right now. Curling the toes, lifting the hips up really nice and high, finding downward facing dog. Now, as you find down dog, let's press away from those hands, look back at our feet, and start to walk the dog. Stretching through those calf muscles, working through the arches of your feet, giving a nice little massage here. And then let's hold down dog, press the chest back through the shoulders, preparing for our three-legged dog pigeon series. We're going to lift the right leg up as high as it'll go, three-legged dog. Open up that knee into an open three-legged dog. So we're stretching that left groin area. Let's see if we can press that heel down a little bit closer to the floor. Keep your shoulders relatively square to the ground. And when you're ready, we're going to kick that right foot up and through into pigeon. Bringing the shin as close to parallel to the top of your mat as you're able to. Bring that back left leg as close to parallel with the long edge of your mat. When you're ready, with control, we come onto either our hands, our elbows, or all the way down with the head. And while we're holding pigeon, I really want us to focus on slowing our breathing, making sure we feel a stretch running down the outside of that right hip and through the thigh. The stretch particularly targets those hip muscles. Slowly bringing our hands up onto the ground. We'll kick back in through downward facing dog. Once here, let's straighten out our backs. Make sure that we've got long necks, pressing away from those hands. Preparing to repeat this with the left leg. Starting to bring that left leg up into three-legged dog. Shoulders are strong. We bend the knee as we open the hip. Open three-legged dog. Trying to press that right heel down into the ground, opening up through the inside of that right thigh. Let's bring it across for pigeon. Left foot comes all the way under. Trying to bring the shin parallel to the front of the mat. Back leg is long with the long edge of the mat. Keeping our backs as flat as possible as we come into our final resting pose here. Now, the left side might be different from the right side. That's okay. Just making that mental note, taking this moment to reflect on how this left side feels. Slow our breathing. Slowly bringing our hands up, pressing back into down dog for the last time, lifting those hips up really nice and high. Let's see if we can press the heels down a little bit more. Puff the chest through the shoulders just a little bit more. And as we reach forward through plank, we're going to take our one and only chaturanga as we slow lower the body to the mat, lifting up in through cobra. Nice big lift here. Get a nice big stretch. Now from cobra, we're going to relax onto the stomach, keeping our hands underneath our shoulders to start as we find half bow. We reach our right hand back to grab a hold of our right ankle. Make sure the knees are still nice and close together. As we press down through that left hand, we lift the chest. We start to press our right foot back into the right hand, opening up through the right shoulder and through the right thigh muscle. Just making sure that that right knee hasn't opened off to the side. We're keeping it running parallel with the left thigh. Nice big stretch here. Taking one more big inhale. And exhale, relax. Great stretch for the shoulder, the quad, and the back. Now with the right hand under the shoulder, we take the left hand back into the thigh, holding onto that left ankle. Big inhale as we start to press the right hand into the ground, lift the chest, and then press the left foot back into the hand, opening up that whole left side of the body. Now important, keep that left knee pointing straight behind us, not letting that foot wander away from the body. Noticing a really good stretch in that left thigh. Watch your breathing. Last big inhale. Exhale, relax. Gently pressing up, whether it's through cobra back into child's pose or directly back into child's pose. Just take a moment, notice all that extra stretching, and we may even feel a little bit taller. Taller as we lengthen those back muscles. Now we're slowly going to come up, finding a seated position. The seated position, we're going to start with both legs coming out into a straddle. So if you'd like to work your legs out into a straddle split, whatever that might look like for you today, it could be quite small, it could be quite big. I want us to make sure that we're sitting on top of our sits bones, heels on the ground, toes up to the ceiling. With our hands right in front of us, keeping those toes pointing to the ceiling, we're going for a walk. Walk, walk, walk. It could be a short walk, it could be a long walk. Let's see if we're able to really stretch and relax into this. Wherever it might be, keeping the bum on the ground, the heels on the ground, the toes to the ceiling. Take a couple of big breaths as we stretch through those inner thighs. And from this forward fold and straddle split, let's slowly walk those hands back in. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Bring those legs together. Taking your right foot into butterfly, keeping that left leg forward. We're going to take another forward fold. As we do so, keeping both shoulders square to that left knee, we'll take hands on either side, pressing our right knee down into the floor. Walk, 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 walk. Again, it could be a short walk, it could be a long walk. We may feel a stretch running through the back of our left leg, maybe through the right hip or into that back. I know whenever I do this stretch, I always feel it in my back. It's a nice stretch for where the hips meet those back muscles. As we slowly breathe, just work your way a little bit lower. As we're nearing the end of our session this morning, I want us to start to reflect on how we're feeling. As we slowly roll ourselves up. We can help that right leg forward, drawing the left foot into butterfly, sitting up really, really tall, starting to press that left knee down as we walk our hands forward. walk, walk, walk. Again, it might be a short walk, it might be a long walk, but as we press that left knee down, we'll just start to relax our head. Notice what we're feeling. And slowly walking back up. Bring both feet into butterfly. Now as we're holding butterfly, we're going to stretch through our neck. If this isn't comfortable, please feel free to sit in a different position. This is how we're going to be finishing our practice together today. So I'm going to pull my ankles and sit up really, really nice and tall. Taking our neck stretch, let's tuck that right ear down towards the right shoulder. And if you're able to hold on to your ankles with your hands, you can sit up even taller, really depressing those shoulders down, and you'll feel a great stretch through that left shoulder. Lifting up through the middle, take the left ear down, and now focusing on the stretch running down that right side. Lifting ourselves up. Good, roll those shoulders down. Now, finding if this butterfly is uncomfortable, we'll sit in another posture, maybe like lotus, saying our final goodbye to end the yoga section of our practice this morning. Ready, everyone? Inhale, lifting our hands all the way up to prayer. Exhaling down through heart center. Namaste. I brought a couple of rollers for us to look at. This looks like a cake or cookie roller. It is actually a roller for your muscles, which is great. We're likely not going to use it today, but if this is all you've got, you can absolutely use this. Okay, this will make do. It's bumpy and it's small, so it might be a little awkward to get into some positions, but this works. Your ball, this is a lacrosse ball or a massage ball. Okay, this is a really great tool for us to use when it comes to some of our stretches, and I'll try to incorporate it a little bit today. If that's all you've got, that works. And if you don't have a lacrosse ball or massage ball, a tennis ball, if you've got one around the house, that will be great.
I only have like this hockey ball that I use for practice.
Perfect. Use that. That's great.
Okay.
This is a roller. Mine is extra large. It's just longer in length. A lot of yours will probably be half of this size. Yep. Some of you might have the same size. Some of you might have half. Mine is foam. So it's nice and flat and smooth. If you have a bumpy one, that's okay. The bumpy one will work. It just might be a little bit intense. So what some people will do, they'll actually wrap a towel or a pillowcase around a bumpy one just to soften it a little bit, because it can be quite intense when you're laying on top of it, but that's okay. So use whatever you have today is the bottom line, okay, everyone? Whatever you've got, use it, see it, play with it, figure out if you like it, and then if you don't want to use what you use today, we'll work on it next time, okay? So this is all about trial and error today. Please don't stress about it. And then I can actually start. So let's get started. We're going to do a bit of a generic stretch today, working from our biggest muscle groups, and we'll see what we have time for. So please just play with it. If you've never rolled out before, today is going to be a learning experience. And if you've been rolling out for a couple of years and you've done a lot of rollout classes with me, it might be a good reminder, a good refresher. Stick with any posture you have. If you've done a rollout with me before, you know that I encourage you to stay and work on an area instead of moving on with me if that's what your body's asking for. The first one that we're going to do today is on our back. So what I need you to do, whether you're on a roller or a ball, just watch, play with it. I know you probably have lots of questions, but let's save them for the end or save them for another day. Today is just going to be about trying it, okay? Just try everything. So if you've got a roller that you can kind of sit on, what I'm going to ask you to do is start getting onto your back. You can take your hands behind you a little bit and just take your legs out. This is a great way to get familiar with your roller. You're just going to start going where your hips and your glutes meet your lower back, just rocking back and forth. Notice the position that you feel best with your legs, with your hands, kind of like holding that crab dip position as we roll out through the middle of your back, just above your tailbone. Now from here, we're going to angle it a little bit. So I want you to lean towards one hip and now start angling it, which now you'll be able to get a little bit lower in through the glutes and into that lower back. And while you're doing that, it may be quite intense, or you might be thinking, this is okay. So the thing about rolling is we're getting into what's called fascia or connective tissue. So you're working through the acidity of the muscle, how it's connecting into other muscle or into bone. So you're getting some pretty hot pockets of acid, which quite literally hurts. It's not a bad hurt, it's just a deep stretch. So what we're doing is quite active. So if there's any spot that's really intense, you can just hold it, breathe through it, or you can back off if it's too much today. From this one side that we angled, going through the middle, make sure you're still happy on your roller and your mat, angle to the other hip. So it's not a very big angle, and this way you can target through those tired glute muscles up through the lower back. Now everyone's going to be different with their rolling. Some of us will hold more tension in the right side versus the left side. Some of us will hold a lot of tension through the glutes or more up through the shoulders. So we'll all have a very different experience with the roller. As you can tell right now, I've hit an incredibly intense sensational spot. Breathe through it. Okay, if it's too much though, back off, it's okay. Sometimes it's a nice idea just to hold it too. You can just hold it and take a couple of big breaths and then keep moving. Now from here, I'm gonna ask that we now take our bum down to the floor. When your bum's on the ground, cross your hands over your chest, just like we were doing a 3-way crunch with our hands across our chest. Now I want you to lift your bum up and walk yourself so that your shoulders are on the mat. Now I just noticed my ponytail. If you have a ponytail, see if you can quickly just tie it up, because rolling your hair is not a very fun experience. There's a lesson learned for everybody. Now hands across the chest, we've got our bum lifted, so your abs have to be a little bit tight. I want you to start rolling just until you meet the bottom of your neck. So we're not going to roll our neck. We're going to just roll the upper part of our shoulders. So yes, there's a lot of abdominal work, a lot of control involved with rolling. We've just got through. Some of us, this might be quite intense. Others might be thinking, I don't get the point of this. What's going on right now? What I want you to do is now lower your bum and let your head relax over the roller. You might need to reposition. Taking our arms, I want you to make a cactus arm. So those arms are at 90 degrees, making cactus arms. Lift the bum up again and start rolling, tucking your chin in, rolling with your arms now in cactus instead of across the chest. Going a little bit lower if you're able to, through those shoulder blades. Very controlled movement. And now I want you to take your bum down again and see if you can get your back a little bit more rounded. Let's reach our arms up to streamline. Tuck your chin, lift your bum up. See if you can do a little bit more rolling with streamline now. Abs are super tight. And then see if you can drop your bum and let your arms completely go. Just take a couple big breaths. It's very relaxing. It's like laying on a pillow now. All right, from here, take your time. We can roll all the way up. How are we making out so far? Doing okay? We're going to switch gears. That was a little bit on the back. If you've got the ability to do so, you're going to turn the roller the long ways now. See how I've turned it? So now it's in like my spine. Now mine's really long. Yours might be much smaller. So you have to play with this a little bit. We're going to lay on it. So you're gonna have to widen your legs and get yourself into a position. If you've got your ponytail on the way, try to move your ponytail. You wanna lay your back completely flat. Legs might be a little bit wider so you have the good support. And if you feel really wobbly, feel free to take the arms down. Okay, what I wanna see if we can do is just find some familiarity with your roller. We need to get comfortable with it, find balance. This takes practice. Now, if you're okay with it, I'm going to ask that we take our arms all the way straight up to the ceiling. You can do it one arm at a time if you prefer. Let's take our arms all the way open. See if we can allow those shoulders to squeeze around the roller. And then lift the arms all the way up. Do that a couple of times. Ready? Open all the way. Let the arms come down. Squeeze them open and lift. This is a good way to discover if you have any knots in and around those scapula, the shoulder blades. Let those arms come down and then lift up. And we'll do this one more time. Let the arms come all the way down. For me personally, this feels amazing. Some of you, this might be too intense. Some of you may not be feeling anything at all. Remember, it's all an individual experience. We're going to lift those arms up and relax them down. Now, taking your time, I want you to slowly, with control, roll off of your roller, turn it back so that you're going to be able to work our hamstring. So I'm going to face you this way this time so you can see the hamstring work. Hamstrings are the big muscles on the back of your thighs. Make sure you're comfortable with this. As you straighten out both legs, take your hands behind you. Again, it's a lot of planking work. You're going to start just rocking. Just rocking. It might be a big roll, it might not be. Okay, you're just going to start playing with that. It can be awkward. Rolling out takes a lot of control, a lot of muscle. All right, now from here, we've kind of loosened it up a bit. I want you to take one foot on a floor. Okay, one foot's down. The opposite hand is on the ground. Okay, so you can even put that same hand on the leg. Now I want you to roll through that hamstring. Now your hamstring, while you're doing this, I'm gonna stand up so I can show you. Your hamstring, which is the back of your thigh, has a whole bunch of different muscles in it. There's a big muscle at the back. There's some up the side and then the inside. So you're not necessarily just going to be rolling, this one meaty muscle up and down. So you might need to play. Ooh, there's my spot. So I have to change hands now in order to get the other part of the hamstring. So more of an inner thigh. So did you see how I did that? Still with my right leg on the mat or on the roller. I was doing the outside and then I felt that I needed to switch to the inside. So I changed my balance arm to my left hand so that I could focus on the inside of my right leg a little bit better. So feel free to do that too, okay? That actually feels amazing. All right, we're going to explore the other leg. So take both hands behind you. Really work on your balance and control, okay, everyone? Taking the left leg out instead. We're going to start by working one side. Okay, so you've got your right foot on the floor. That's like your kickstand, your balance to help you work with this. You're supporting yourself on one hand behind you and maybe play with it. I wasn't feeling very much on that side, so I'm gonna switch and just work the outside of that hamstring a little bit more. Whew. And if you find a spot, you can stay there. Okay, so the rolling doesn't have to be huge, it can be little movements. And as I mentioned before, you can also just hold it and breathe. If you find like a really intense spot, you can just sit there and hold it. All right, just a few more times while we're doing the hamstring. You might not be feeling this, you might feel it a lot. We're gonna switch gears and go into our IT band in a second here. All right, so just go ahead and sit on your roller. I'm going to show you the position and then you're going to get into it. Now you can absolutely do this with a ball if you'd prefer. For this next one, it depends how much feeling you have with the IT band. I have a lot of feeling in my IT band, so I do it on a nice big roller. Because if you think about pressure points, if you were to stick a finger into a sore muscle, it's a lot different than sticking a flat hand. A flat hand is nice, it's calm. A finger, it hurts. That's the same idea as a nice flat, calm roller. Pointy finger. Some people prefer the pointy finger, like your ball, okay? So, taking your IT band, you're going to, remember our mermaid stretch, right? Sitting on one hip and stretching, very similar to that. So you're gonna sit on your right hip. You take that right leg out nice and straight. See how my hands, I'm almost in a side plank. So rolling out, it involves a lot of plank. This top leg, it can be behind you or in front of you. Again, your IT band, it works the front and back side of your leg. It's on the outside of your hip, running all the way down your knee. IT band, if you're a little unfamiliar with it, is your iliotibial band. That's a fancy science word for hip and knee elastic. Okay, it's a band that attaches your hip to your knee. So we need to stretch that out. So what you're gonna do is while you're down here in that side plank position, start, wow, rolling from just above your knee, don't go on your knee, to into that hip. Okay, so you stop just above the knee, and you may wanna focus just maybe on the top half for a little bit, see how that feels. Play with leaning back a little bit towards your bum, or leaning forward towards your belly button. Notice how that feels. And I'm just gonna readjust so I can get it a little bit closer to my knee. I'm actually gonna put both hands on the ground because I'm noticing that for me, it's more into my quadricep muscle, so the front of my thigh that I'm feeling the stretch. You may be feeling it more towards the back. Today I'm feeling it closer to my knee. You might be feeling it closer to your hip. That's a big elastic band. We have to play with it. Now, if it's really intense, again, I'll remind you, you might just wanna hold it, lean into it, take a couple big breaths, and then move. You can't see it, but I'm shaking. I may sound like this is really easy, but it's not. All right, and just for time's sake, we're going to move on to the other side. So you can simply switch the other leg. I'll do it from the back this time so you can see. You wanna sit on it, and you can do it here, side plank, just rocking back and forth. You can do nice long rolls from just above the knee into the hip. Or if you find that you're really starting to notice that it's concentrated more on the back or concentrated more on the front, like mine is again, and it's closer to the knee, I'm going to take just a little bit more of a controlled, slower, smaller movement and hold it every now and then, breathing into those sore spots. Keep playing with it. And this is where all of that practice that we've been doing on your breathing can really, really help you out. You'll notice I'm not talking very much right now. I'm really focusing on my breathing. All right, and slowly, I'll get us to come into a kneeling position in front of that roller. Couple of big breaths. You may be feeling a lot right now. Maybe you're doing okay. Maybe you're thinking, I don't get what the big deal about rolling is. This is easy. Good. What we're going to do is now focus on our quads, and I'm laughing because judging by my IT band stretch, knowing that it was mostly concentrated closer to my knees and a little bit more towards the front of my legs, I know that my quads are tight today. That's something that rolling has now made me more aware of, which is brilliant. So if you've only got a ball, be careful because this is going to be quite intense. If you're using a small roller, rather than laying on top of it like I'm going to show you, I'd recommend sitting down and doing this instead so you can control the intensity of how much pressure you're applying. Now, when we do the quadriceps, same thing. We're going to start with both. So we come into a front plank with the roller underneath the thighs. So we never roll on the knees. See how it's actually right above my knees? And I'm just using my toes as a little bit of a pressure point here. And I'm gonna start rocking forward and back. Start a little bit small, and then as you get comfortable with the movement, you can go a little bit bigger. Now, again, you keep going. I'm gonna stand up real quick. The quadricep made of 4 muscles. So you've got big muscle here, 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 and here. There's 4 of them. So you need to wander around with that roller to target all 4 muscle groups. So as we're here on our roller, what I'm gonna get you to do now is come down onto one elbow, turn your body a little bit, and you can spider monkey it. That's what I always used to call it when we were in the room with senior silver and senior gold. So you'll want to start rolling, oh my goodness, like a spider monkey with your leg position, getting that one leg, holy moly, into a big stretch. Coming up to the bottom of your hip, down the thigh into your almost knee. Don't roll on the knee. Big breaths, everyone. And you're controlling the pressure. How much you lean into the roller is going to increase the intensity. If you can hear my incredible breath right now, you know that I am definitely feeling this. Now, if you're feeling a lot, again, just hold it. Just hold it. Breathe into it. And if you're using a ball, you're gonna really wanna use that strategy. If your hip flexors are really tight, make sure you're focusing on coming up into just that base of the hip, right where your hip flexor meets from your abs, down across that pelvis, into the top of your thigh. And I'll get us to switch sides. All right, take your time. We take one thigh, so now it's my right thigh. I'm gonna take my right arm onto the floor, spider monkey that left foot up, using that as my kickstand. And I start that slow rock, focusing now on the left thigh. We asked for thighs today, and wow, are we getting them. Nice and slow, everybody. Just to the base of your hip and the top of your knee. If you need a little bit more, reposition. It's never a bad idea to reposition. And remember that the thigh spans from right side, middle to left side. So you'll want to play with that a little bit too. And yes, this takes a lot of control. You're doing a lot with your plank right now. Definitely have to engage your core. Lots of awareness. We'll do just maybe 30 more seconds. Notice how this right leg feels. And then carefully come back off so you're kneeling in front of it. How are we doing? Good? All right, let's take ourselves into a little bit of a chest stretch. What I want us to do, and again, you can do this with the ball instead of the roller. Okay, so I'm going to be laying on the roller, but you can lay on the ball so that it's right in front of the shoulder. As you lay down, I want you to take your arm, so it's kind of off to the side a little bit here, and you're rolling into the front of your shoulder, into your arm. So if you're not feeling a lot with the roller, feel free to use the ball instead or something smaller. Again, this could be quite intense. You may need to play with it. I know in the past, I've had swimmers need to just play with whether you're laying all the way on your stomach doing this, or like I'm showing you, kind of a tucked position here, rolling through that shoulder. We'll do a little bit more. Good, now while we're on this arm, we're going to do the next muscle group. So I want you just to back off of it a little bit. And now take yourself completely on your side with your arms straight. So see now how I'm on my lats instead. I'm underneath my shoulder towards the rib cage. We're going to have to play with the position here a little bit as we now roll those tired, sore muscles in your lats. So it's not a very big movement. See how I'm really just rocking through my hips? Some of you may need to reposition, never coming onto the elbow, just rocking back and forth through the tricep, or taking it under more the arm there and coming this way. So again, there's a lot of playing involved, a lot of kind of independent thinking, reflecting, trying, some trial and error. Just a little bit more. Good. All right, now what I want us to do is we're going to be switching to the right or the other side. So now it's going to be my right arm. I'm going to start on my hip because we have to do our chest first, so the front of your shoulder. So I'm just going to place the front of my shoulder onto the roller. Again, some of you may find that you prefer to do this laying completely down on your stomach and then just angling the roller. I'll try to show it this way, kind of angling it. You can do this with a ball and you can lay completely down on your stomach. I know for me personally, I prefer to make my body go sideways. It's less pressure, and I have very sensitive muscles when it comes to rolling. So this takes the pressure off. Whereas if you're laying completely on your stomach, there's a little bit more intensity. So working with your control, figuring out how you best prefer the position. We're rolling through the front of that shoulder. And again, we don't want it to hurt. We just want to feel, yes, there is a stretch. Yes, we are feeling some definite sensation. But there's a difference between noticing the sensation and feeling incredible pain. So make sure you're not torturing yourself here. Now from here, we're going to switch gears. So, help yourself get off of that controlled, working through the lat. I'll show you the back view this time. So as you lay that right arm or your other arm down, you're going to work on some exploring. So last side, my left side, I found most of the stretch right here. There it is. In what would be known as my stratus anterior. This is one of my rotator cuff muscles. I know that these are weaker muscles for me, so I focus on stretching right under the shoulder. For you, you may need to extend that roller a little bit farther away from you, or the ball a little bit farther. Remember, don't go directly on the elbow, and then start rolling more through the tricep and through the upper part of that arm. So play with that for about maybe 30 more seconds. Just little rocks. Good, everybody. And then slowly coming off of that. Now, a great stretch to do after we just did that intense stretch. We're going to do child's pose with the roller. Ready? Take your hands. You can use a ball. You can use a small roller. It doesn't matter. You don't even need one if you don't want one. Big child's pose stretch. Feel those shoulders. Get as low as you can. Maybe open the knees really wide. Couple big breaths, everybody. Great job. All right, now slowly coming up. You can use a wall, a chair, nothing at all. I'm going to use the roller. We're going to stretch into our hip flexor a little bit more, using the roller not as a device, but now as an aid. Finding that runner's lunge again. We're going to get just a little bit deeper. So I'm using this just to help myself balance. Get a little bit deeper in that hip flexor stretch. Notice how it felt in yoga. We did all of the runner's lunge, the lizard, and then we just rolled out the quad. We rolled up in through the hip flexor, which is kind of a hard area to get into. So you might be feeling a little bit more stretch now. And we'll stretch those hamstrings out that we just did as well by taking ourselves, again, I'm just using this like a ski pole or like a chair. Pull ourselves back into a hamstring stretch. So targeting that front leg as you straighten it out. However you need to hold this. We've done lots of single leg hamstring stretches before, just like at the beginning of our yoga practice, holding that leg up towards the ceiling, noticing if there's any change in that stretch. And slowly come up. Take your time, take your time, take your time. We can move that roller if you're using it. The other side as we kick the other foot forward into our runner's lunge. Big breath as we lean into the hip. Belly stays away from the thigh. Never do we let the belly come forward. We always secure and support the back, working through holding and learning the range of motion in that hip. Couple big breaths, everybody. And then just lean back here. Now there's lots more we're going to learn with the roller in, later sessions. This was a great introduction to a generic rollout and recovery, so I hope you enjoyed it. If this feels good, please keep going with it. Otherwise, we are going to say our final goodbye. If you'd like to just take your seat, make sure you grab some water after this. Keep moving around. Don't just curl up in a ball. We want to encourage all of this acid that we just kind of moved, all this blood flow and circulation to keep going through our body. Ready as we take our final goodbye today. All right, everyone, big inhale, lift our hands up. Exhale, come all the way down. I feel like a whole new person. Namaste.
Thank you, Cassie. That was great.
Thank you.